crypto space earlier than a year ago? Raise your hands. Wow. Okay. How many of you think that you are new to the space and you're just exploring? Okay. Just trying to understand what we're working with. So guys, yeah, I wanted to start with a topic on data privacy. Lots of people have, for some reason, a belief that blockchain gives you privacy. It's totally wrong. Blockchain is not giving you privacy. It's a public blockchain, so a transparent ledger where you can see every single transaction. And if you're trying to use a crypto for reasons that you want to hide your data and your personal identity, that's your job. None of the blockchain is going to do it for you. And today I will be explaining different reasons and why data privacy is so important. First of all, also, guys, not my best design skills today, but it is what it is. So first of all, I wanted to start with personal data and types of data according to my definition. We have personal characteristics. It's demographics, your age, race, location, country you were born, and different other characteristics. There is personality. It's something that you're forming from the very beginning. It's very hard to change your personality. It's a part of your identity. And we have, of course, social and psycho characteristics that also define you as a person, as that's also a part of your personal data. The next thing are the behavioral patterns. So that's about your habits, your routine, something that you are forming through time, but something that can also change. And these habits and routine are really crucial part that our tech companies very, very interested in, because that's a part of the data that they can use to affect your decisions and decisions of other people. I also will delve into it a bit later. Of course, there are interests and preferences, what you like, what you hate, and again, it's a big part of your decision making. You're not going to buy a product if you totally hate it. And of course, fears and dislikes. There are also certain things that you are scared of, that you totally hate, and this also affects your decisions. Those patterns are semi-variable, so they can change. Some of them might be from the moment you were born, and they will never change. Some of them are changing through time. And that's why this kind of data is a constant learning process on gathering this data and analyzing your behavioral patterns throughout years. And of course, we have social attributes. Those are your relationships, network, connections, all these people you're going to meet in Austin at the conferences, at the private parties, everyone you're drinking with, everyone you're dating, everyone you're doing business with. And this data is also a very essential part of affecting your decisions. So I was working for United Nations a few years ago, and I was working there as a data scientist. And that was the first moment when I started realizing how scary the data is and what it can do and how it can affect your decisions. I didn't even work with big data. No, big data is a really scary thing. I was working with a data set of, I would say, 500 different variables for every single person in Southeast Asia. And at that moment, when I started building different correlations or building different patterns, that's when I started realizing that I know what people think in this country, what people like, what kind of problems they have, and what kind of products we can launch there in order to help them. For United Nations, obviously, the goal is to, in that case, was to increase financial inclusion, to help people in developing economies. It's a totally different goal for corporate segment. They're not looking for this data to help you, they're not looking for this data to protect you. They're looking for this data to sell your product, to sell your service, or different other things that I will be talking about later. So first of all, let's look about direct data interpretation. This is a really simple analysis of where you can go, things you like, what are you watching, what are you doing, what kind of locations you are visiting. This data is easy to collect through your cell phones, whenever you connect it to a network, whenever you message someone. I'm pretty sure most of you have a geolocation allowed to most of the apps on your iPhone. That's where they're getting, of course, all this data. But on top of that, for example, China is a really good example. I was living there for almost 4 years, and they took it to a completely different level with a WeChat app, where basically you have a whole your life. It's a messenger app where you also have a payment, like mobile payment services. You also have your apps, so you can buy travel tickets, and on top of that, you're also using your WeChat to enter subway. So they know at what station I am every morning and at what time. They know if I'm late for my work. They know if I'm late for a meeting. They understand me from a completely different angle. And they don't need anyone else's data, and they don't need any other device. They of course have cameras, they can also trace your movements, but they just need your smartphone to understand that. And there are also simple prediction algorithms, where they start already analyzing the data. So WeChat, I like bringing it as example, it's very simple. You have, again, your friends on the WeChat. So now they know who is the person you're gonna call when you run out of money. Because you can see how much money you have on the WeChat app, as it's a mobile wallet as well. They see who will be the next person you're gonna reach out to ask for money. And they will see how much money is this person gonna send to you. This data is so easy to collect. They also know who you're gonna call if you get fired. They know who you're gonna call if you break up with your boyfriend, girlfriend, or wherever else. They know your close network. They also know who are your business relationships and like how close you are with certain people. This is a really powerful data. And there are complex prediction algorithms. So you can actually start predicting your future. Aggregating a data of one person can only analyze your patterns and your behavior, your decisions. Taking all this data together, you can start making actual future predictions based on probability theory. So knowing at what time you're usually getting to your car and at what time another person getting to a car, knowing if that other person is actually following the traffic lights, can help them to build a probability theory of how likely you're going to be hit by a car. It also can be predicting if, for example, someone starts a business in 2 years or someone launching a new venture in 10 years. You can build all these patterns based on individual data. And it's actually possible to do right now. We don't even need quantum computing to start building, of course, not super advanced algorithm, but you can already build prediction and you can already understand what's going on with the country. And this data is actually a scary one, because that's when companies and people who are getting this data can start manipulating decisions. And not only you as a one person, it's about manipulating a group of people and letting them indirectly, like leading them indirectly to where you actually want them to be at. And there was I wouldn't recommend the movie as to watch or anything, but there was actually a movie, Minority Report, where they were analyzing how likely a person gonna kill someone else, and they were arresting them before crime is actually happening. And it's kind of a funny movie. I mean, not a funny movie. They made it serious, but I'm saying it just kind of seems silly, but it's actually possible. You can actually analyze data, and based on probability theory, you cannot, of course, predict 100%, but you can get as close as possible to 100%, the more data you have. And you can actually build future predictions. So fortune telling is not about like a woman right now sitting, like giving you cards and trying to predict your future. It's all about data and big data. And that's something that they already can do without even advanced quantum computing. So, and I already said that data can be used for several reasons. Of course, we have research, and in most of cases, research is something that's supposed to be beneficial for people. It can be research in the medical industry, where they're trying to come up with a, I don't know, new cure for cancer, or they're doing research in the financial sector. They're trying to build new technologies, maybe self-driving cars. This data can be used in the research purposes, but it can also be used in the commercial. Again, they want to sell you product, they want to sell you service. They don't want to waste their time, they don't want to waste their money on offering you something you don't like, or offering you something they want to offer you, but understanding that it's a completely wrong message. That's where data can along, and they already know the way how they can manipulate your decision. And of course, political. Do you think our politicians are just telling everything based on their own beliefs and desires? No, they analyze data. They know what is their majority of voters now want to hear. What is the main trend? Whether it's environmental trend, they're going to be pitching environment. And of course, there are so many ways how they can start affecting your decisions. And that's about, I know that most of you are familiar with all the channels, how your decisions can be affected. My goal is here to make you not just know and hear it, but actually start realizing how deep we're getting into this space. And of course, ad campaigns. While getting target ad campaigns, you're saying something next to your iPhone and you're getting recommendations right away. Everyone knows it, everyone facing it. We have media also analyzing data. They know what kind of content they want to pitch you. If you think that media and all articles are coming just based on the pure journalism and a cool story, no, they're also looking for SEO optimized topics, or they're looking for something that you want to read and pitch their agenda. And they also know how to put agenda of companies that paying them money for in the ways that you will appreciate it, and you will think that, oh, it's a good advice. Thank you guys. I'm probably gonna, I don't know, proceed with this company. You also have products and services, and some of them can be used not just to sell you things, but also to lead you to a completely different decision. Products and services can also be placed at a location next to you and affect your decisions, not even related to purchasing these products and services. They can affect you moving out of a place, or they can affect you purchasing completely different things from what you think they were trying to sell you. Movies, obviously. We have movies coming along, and there are so many agenda being covered in movies that are not exactly like meant just because it was a nice scenario and someone wanted to create a nice movie. It's because they also have agenda to pitch you and manipulate your decisions. Not always, but I'm saying be aware. Of course, public personas, even city planning in China is a really good example when they're building cities and they're leading people in certain areas. They're increasing prices artificially in one area to let people move to completely different areas. They're also analyzing what kind of shops, products they like, to build them in the locations where they want people to move to. So city planning is actually can be done in a way to manipulate your decisions and drive you to certain areas. And of course, talks and presentations. My one is just to teach you about data privacy. I don't have other agenda. And of course, I'm always saying in blockchain, there is no one else who's gonna help you. And I'm always saying, if someone else saying to you they want to help you, just don't believe it. Like when did you see a person who like came to you and said like, oh, let me help you. I'm so nice. I just want to help you. No, everyone has their own agenda, and you might even not know. You might think that it's the nicest person on the planet, but everyone has their own agenda. And blockchain actually giving us opportunity to protect ourselves without relying on the third parties. But lots of people don't know how to do it. They assume that blockchain already like automatically protecting you, but no, that's not right. And just before we start going there, I just wanted to put some basics on some data privacy, some basics that you can do. VPN, I'm always putting it first. I usually don't connect to any public Wi-Fi's unless it's absolutely necessary and I'm connecting from a device where I don't have important information. I never ever connect my smartphone to a public Wi-Fi. It's not safe. It's so easy. You will be very surprised how easy it is to get access to your data through public Wi-Fi. My friend in South Korea, he learned it, I think within 1 day, how to hack a public Wi-Fi network and get access to information of people. So he was trying to teach me, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do it, so just high-level information is fine. But it's very easy. You can learn it fast, and so do others. You don't want to connect to public Wi-Fi. Of course, use VPN. That's not protecting you fully, but it gives you additional level of data privacy and how you can secure some part of your personal data. Separate email addresses. That one is very important. Lots of people just using one email address, and that's another funny story. Lots of, like, I don't know if you're familiar with situation in Russia, but there was a big fight for like opposition, and some of the politicians and their corrupt schemes were actually discovered because they were using one email address for some of the bank transactions that weren't even important, but they also used it to order food delivery. And that helped to trace back to all their mansions and all their corrupt funds. So email address is very important. It's not about teaching you how to hide yourself from, I'm not here to teach about any illegal operations. I'm teaching here about data privacy, to protect our data from someone else getting access to it and using it for manipulations. And when you, for example, log in or like sign up for a centralized exchange, just use another email address. That gives you additional layer of privacy. As many email addresses as you can generate, the better it is. I'm not using same email address for delivery services. I have a separate email address for that. And I have a fake name for all deliveries, all reservations. I never use my real name anywhere else when I think it's unnecessary. And another thing is your phone number. So all these tech companies, they're becoming smarter. They're asking you for phone number because they understand that people are using fake email addresses. And they still want your data, right? They still want to try to find you out. And phone number is something that was a bit harder to get. Like email address, you can just register a new one. You can forget the password to it and forget that it exists. They never can get access to this information. But the phone number, usually it's a bit harder to get. You have at least to walk sometimes to, I don't know, T-Mobile, right? Get a prepaid plan. But I really recommend to getting prepaid phone number. It's not connected to your real identity, and in this way it's harder to trace. But if you're using your phone number to give to your business network, to provide it some official services where you have to put your identity, and then you're using it at their delivery service, well, for now, they're not going to build this relationship between your data variables, but later, if they need, they can always combine it and find out that you are the person who is doing that certain business at the, I don't know, let's say at the bank, right? And you are the same person who is ordering burrito every other night. They will know it. Of course, I already said to you about fake names. It's helpful. It's not giving you much protection, but by giving up your real name, if you can use and another one. And of course, anonymous crypto wallet. And one of my friends who is organizing events was recently telling me, Elena, were you always asking for wallet addresses from people? And there's a simple line of code how you can just scrap the data on how much money they have without like manually looking at every single crypto wallet. There's just one line of code, they run it, and they know how much money every single wallet has in it. And they're using it to discover whales. And I was saying like, wait, are there like actual whales who have like lots of money on their wallet and they're giving that wallet address in your form submission? He's like, yeah, you will be really surprised. There are people with $100,000 on their account in crypto that are giving that wallet address in form submission. I was like, I hope they have way more than that. Because the moment you are giving your crypto wallet, you are submitting it in the form, that gives access to your information to every single person. And in this case, you put your name and your wallet address in one form. They know this wallet belongs to you. And of course, there is no anonymity anymore. If you're actually storing money on your crypto wallet, you always need to understand that every single person can see it if you're sending them a wallet address to receive funds. So what you want to do, you want to keep one wallet for funds that you're actually storing, and another one that you can even create like a random wallets every time and send it to people in the form submissions or to receive funds. Then you can use that wallet to send funds to your actual wallet. But also, always keep in mind, if you're sending it directly from one wallet to another one, people can trace your second wallet. So just think how well you want it to be protected. And of course, cash payments. Crypto, unfortunately, is not accepted everywhere. It's not easy to pay with crypto yet. I hope it will start changing. But cash payments help you to protect your data. And people looking at me really weird, but I started, so I officially became unbanked, proudly unbanked. I still have a corporate account for, unfortunately, legal reasons in the United States, but I am personally unbanked. Feel really happy about it, and I'm using cash for my daily operations. People sometimes giving me a really weird look, kind of expecting that I'm going to pay with Apple Pay, and I'm saying no, it's going to be cash. But some people actually giving you a look of certain respect. I think they understand the reason behind it. And I understand it's very hard to remove your digital presence and protect your personal data. And I mean, I have Instagram. I understand people can, and big corporations can trace me. I still have to have it for business reasons. But of course, we're looking for a trade-off. Trade-off between what you feel comfortable and what you use for your convenience, and what is actually necessary, like how much you want to protect yourself. And another good example is if you're thinking that, okay, like maybe it's not that bad. I mean, like my data is at some centralized social media or whatever as a company. I mean, unless something big is happening, my data still at least belong to them. Like I trust that sort of company. There are so many hacks. I just put like a few examples. They're not even the biggest ones. There are way bigger ones. I just put like some big names here just to show you that Yahoo, for example, Facebook, Marriott, they all had a data breach where individual data was actually stolen. And again, that's not about protecting yourself. One data doesn't matter. Every single one of you individually doesn't really matter. They care about all of you together, because that's when they're building prediction algorithms, that's when they actually start analyzing your data, and that's the data that can use for manipulations. So look at these numbers, 3 billion accounts. How much information you will know from Yahoo users? A lot. That's enough information to change a country's political regime. It's enough information to make another company an absolute monopoly. It's enough data to change the lives of people in one country or in multiple countries. It's 3 billion accounts. And of course, I was already saying, and I just want to put some ways how they collect your data. Social media, obviously, we talked about it. Voice assistants. If you're thinking that Siri is only listening to you when you're saying, hey Siri, oh no. It's listening to you every single time. And it records and remembers information. And you all probably heard about Alexa's cases when it turned out Alexa actually recording every single conversation. I don't have Alexa, and I finally recently disconnected my Siri, so Siri cannot listen to me anymore. It's like useless anyway, because whenever you ask Siri, it's just saying to you, I'm sorry, I can't do anything, because I'm too busy recording your data. So I don't know, guys, go to your settings, disconnect Siri. And another thing that also important to know, for iPhone users, for Android users should be pretty much similar. For iPhone users, when you give access to your camera and to a microphone to every single app, they also have a right to listen to you. So if you want to protect yourself from apps listening and then selling you whatever nonsense you were mentioning on your phone call, you have to go to every single app individually and disconnect microphone and disconnect camera. That takes time, but it's your data. Of course, we have online orders, and I already mentioned fake name, fake email, fake. Unfortunately, you cannot use a fake address if you want the convenience of the things being delivered to your home. But if you have a possibility not to add your apartment number, then they can just leave it in the building, and at least they don't know which apartment you're living at, if there is such a possibility. But online orders, yeah, as was example with corrupt Russian politicians, people can find your other assets. If you disclose one single data, this data can be connected to data you use in other services and other social media, and they can still link you up. So if you're using online orders, your fake email, fake name, maybe a different phone number, but you put your address there, and then you have a bank that actually has your real name, your ID, and all this personal information, and you have same address there. How hard for them to link you up? Not that hard. And of course, reservations and bookings. Just, I feel it's unnecessary. Why should they know my name? It's just, yeah, like in Starbucks, just to hear like, oh, Elena? No. Why? No. My name is my name. And to put it again here, we have blockchain, and blockchain doesn't give you anonymity, it doesn't give you privacy. It's your job to protect yourself, your data. And blockchain is equal to transparency. Transparency meaning that you can trace every single person, all transactions. And I'm always laughing when government institutions say, oh, they're using crypto for money laundering. Oh my God, it's like so hard to trace it. It's actually way easier to trace it than cash. And you know that big transactions are also happening through art. It's way harder to trace a painting than to trace cryptocurrencies. So all these statements about cryptocurrency being used for illegal operations because it's untraceable is not true. It's very easy to trace. And let's just see some ways how you can somehow buy crypto anonymously. That's not advertising, I promise. I'm not trying to place your data based on what topic you came to listen to. But local bitcoins so far is one of the best tools to buy OTC in a simplified way. You still have to put your emails there. So again, please be aware of your email information. And of course, the absolutely best way, not even Bitcoin ATM, there are cameras everywhere. I mean, again, I'm trying to teach you to like complete extremity, right? We're talking about trade-off between how like private you want to be. But OTC, over the counter, that's where you can actually keep your data private, because you're coming, Literally, you're coming with a bag full of cash to meet with a person who's going to be sending you crypto. And you will be surprised how big the OTC market is. I lived in Argentina for a year and a half, and I'm always laughing that Argentina actually implemented Bitcoin as a legal tender, just the government doesn't know about it. Because all people, they use Bitcoin. Whereas peso was dropping so much, there was a hyperinflation, there were moments when banks actually robbed people, when they were stealing their US dollars at the bank accounts. And at some moment, Argentinian government decided, oh, well, we have such a big government debt, why don't we use this money? We already have some in the bank. So they froze accounts, they used money to pay the pension savings, to pay for their government debt. They were also freezing accounts, they weren't allowing to purchase US dollar, and there are people using Bitcoin to save their money from hyperinflation, from just failing economy that was given to people that they didn't agree to. And for me, it was really shocking whenever like peso drops a little bit. And of course, since I have money in crypto, I was always going to OTC, to brokers, to sell crypto for peso cash there and enjoy my life, because they're giving me 2 times more than official rate. Of course, government doesn't allow you to buy US dollars, so there is a huge black market there to buy US dollar and Bitcoin. And there was a huge line of people there willing to buy Bitcoin. And the other funny thing that you don't need to teach people in Argentina that centralized exchanges is no way to save money at, because centralized means that you don't have custody over your funds, and that means that government institutions or anyone else can take your funds from you, and that's not really good, and that's what Argentinians are not really agreeing to, and that's why Bitcoin and OTC transactions there are enormous. And you will see a huge line of people standing there with cash willing to buy Bitcoin for 2x the price, because tomorrow peso can be lower, and they want to find a way how they can secure their funds. And just another thing about centralized exchanges, and why again it's important to take custody of your funds. So I joined the space in 2014. That's where I bought my first Bitcoin. And at that moment there was MTGOX and BTCE. I went with BTCE. It just seemed like a nicer name. I didn't really know that much at that moment. It was my first attempt to buy crypto. And then later, MTGOX was shut down, and I was like, oh, that's good. I went with BTCE. Really, really good. 2017. I'm opening BTCE, and it says, I don't know if they apologized, but it was saying that FBI seized all funds from the exchange because of illegal operations, money laundering, right? It's their favorite story. And at that moment, all people who were stealing money at BTCE, they lost their funds. I know some of my friends were able to recover. I didn't really bother. I tried a little bit, not hard enough, but I was okay. I was thinking it's a good, expensive lesson for me to learn that centralized exchange is not giving you any protection, and it's your mission and your job to protect your data and your funds. And with local Bitcoin, I wanted to show that they do ask you for email, they do ask you for password, and when you also input in your password, also don't use data that belongs, like some personal data, birthday of your friends, that's all in the system. And of course, the way to store your crypto, I already said about wallets. You need to make sure you have a full custody, you have your private key, your seed phrase, and you're storing it securely. Of course, if you don't, someone else can of course log into your wallet and take your money. So there is no big bank to who you can complain, oh, I'm so sorry, like I was like hacked, can you please recover my funds? No, no one gonna do this job for you. So some people think, okay, banking is very convenient because I always can complain. They can always help me with whatever transactions for whatever I was charged for. I recently was asking them to, like, for example, we had an additional charge from a corporate account, and I was asking a bank to deal with a refund from Spirit Airlines. Never recommend to fly with that. Never happens, and they don't want to refund you money. So I was asking bank to deal with it because I was like, guys, I'm using you for a reason, right? At least they do some job. So yeah, banks give you a convenience of proceeding with your refunds to, like, I don't know, securing you from some supposedly like happening hacks. But at the same time, they also have a right to freeze your accounts, to freeze your funds, to get your money from you, and those funds just don't belong to you. Try to go with a big crowd to a bank and ask for all your money in cash. They don't have them. That's why it's important to store your money, but it's also important to learn how you're going to store your private key. Know that it's stored in a way no one else can get access to it. And of course, hardware wallet is so far the best. I still have my concerns with the security levels of all existing wallets, and you always need to know that if you're putting your seed phrase on your computer connected to Wi-Fi, someone else can also get this information. And maybe they're not going to proceed right away. Maybe they're going to wait till you deposit more money and get these funds from you. So they're always recommending to write on the paper. There is a reason for it. You can lose the paper, yes. So we're still finding a way how to store it in a better way to make sure that you are not losing a piece of paper. And another thing that I wanted to cover is transactions. So how you can actually do anonymous transactions. There are multiple different services. There are also, of course, privacy coins that I briefly will cover. I'm not going to go into too much details here. But the logic here is this is actually a centralized service, so I wouldn't also trust it with lots of funds. And we try to find a better way, and there are better ways to do transactions. But that's one of the options, one of the first also appearing. It's also a mixing services where you have a pool of transactions, so people sending money to one pool, and they kind of mixing the funds up, and then you're receiving it from a completely different wallet. So it's breaking the chain between transactions, so it's harder to trace down transaction from one end to another end, but it's still possible. There are also mixing protocols, so they are decentralized. So it's kind of same, but in an automated way through smart contracts. And in this way, you're not achieving complete privacy. It's just very, very hard to trace. And you can also go through this mixing several times to make it even harder. But there is no such thing as 100%. If someone wants to find out where you moved your funds, it is still possible. Very hard, in some cases unlikely, but there is always a risk. And there are several other options. There are way more options to do, like private transactions, anonymous transactions. Here are just a few rules that I wanted to bring to your attention. Private send of Dash also makes it harder. They're using a system of master nodes. So it's kind of like mixing services, but again, in a more decentralized way, and they're using master nodes. So it's harder to trace, but again, it's possible. And there are several articles that's actually covering in detail how you can trace down transactions. It's just, again, I hope no one is doing anything illegal here and trying to cover their funds completely, but if you're just doing your daily business operations or operations with your friends and you just want to guarantee your data privacy, these options are still good, because I don't think that your other friend will try to spend, I don't know, years on tracing down your transactions on blockchain. And yeah, so sorry for equality, didn't expect that bad. So there is such a thing as ring confidential transactions that Monero is using, and it's also when you have a several signing parties, and it's it's like all of them are kind of following an idea of mixing services. When you have several parties involved and you don't know who is actually the person who was doing transaction, and you also cannot see any information in this transaction. And another one is there is zero knowledge. It's actually like very interesting theory when like yeah, if you read in more detail, there is a really good example of how zero knowledge are being used by Zcash, for example. It's when you have information hidden and none of the parties, like you don't want to disclose an information, you don't want to say that you have actual access, but you can actually prove that you have access to information without actually disclosing this information. You can show that you know the secret without telling the secret. And here is a simple game where Alice is like talking to Bob, and she can't see a Bob. And she just choosing randomly which way he should choose, A or B. And when he's doing it one time, of course, it's a 50% chance that he could just be at the right side of a door without knowing a password to a door. And he just took away, she told him a way that he already could take. But if you're doing it 20 times more, it's really unlikely he was always at the right side of the door. So in this case, she knows that he knows the password of a door, but she doesn't need to know a password from a door to actually know that he is the person. And yeah, I loaded, like I threw lots of information here, and just happy to answer questions if you have any.
We're talking about privacy. What work is being done in regards to like maybe posting like important data like PHI, like protected health information, but then maybe encrypting that on chain?
There were actually like examples with their digital voting, and they were using also different ways on the blockchain with anonymous transactions. And I think some of them actually were, I wouldn't remember right now an example, but I think that they were actually using the ring confidential transactions for digital voting. But all these solutions they're helping you to store not only data in a more secure way. I think for actually the zero knowledge proof probably will be the better one for health data. But I'm not going to be an expert here. I'm not I'm not on the technical side to tell you exactly what would be a solution for healthcare data. But it depends again how heavy is the data, how many transactions are there, how are they connected, correlated, and like what are the relationships between the institutions. And also if you need to connect it within one institution or it's about different institutions. Any more questions?
Do you have any recommendations on where to find more information on how to actually implement protocols?
Yeah, I don't want to say Google, but yeah, of course you can read. What I usually recommend, you can Google privacy points. You can read a bit more about privacy points, and then the best approach is actually read about the specific projects that are already doing this works in the space, and see the case studies. Because some of them, they will say to you, of course, we're achieving a complete privacy, everything is working, it might not work. And you want to look in the case studies, how it's actually being implemented, because there always can be bottlenecks, there can be some problems that they cannot really solve in a real life with certain protocols.
Okay, so right now you're not aware of any open source projects that are out there that we can actually go and review any of the code they might be working on?
For code, you would need to ask developers for open source.
Can you give an example of decentralized exchanges?
I mean, there are lots of them, but decentralized exchanges, first of all, I want to say it's also not always secure. Again, people are moving funds to decentralized exchanges from their wallet. For example, you bought money at Binance, right? And then let's say you're going to Aave, to one of the DEX, Aave, for example. Let's say you bought your money on Binance, and Binance now asks you for KYC for your identity, so they know who you are. Then you withdrew money from Binance to your wallet, and then you went to Aave. Well, they know who you are. They can already trace you back to Binance. They know where you were purchasing before. So DEX, yeah, like you can look at their AVI. You can look at different like swaps, pancake swaps. Right now, DeFi market is still. I believe there will be a future growth of DeFi market. But today we're discussing with one of the experts on that topic about credit risks there, and there are new projects that are trying to solve it, and we're also going to see big developments in the DeFi market. But just always remember, it's not giving you automatic privacy and security if you moving your funds that you purchase with a bank card at some other exchange. Yeah.
Just curious, kind of like understanding that you are completely unbanked here. I know it's a little bit different from perhaps privacy, but tying that in together, like I had to use Airbnb to get a place to stay here, and that in itself, you're doxing yourself in that process. You're using Uber to get here, you're doxing yourself in that process. Understanding that you're completely unbanked, can you talk a little bit more about your experiences in terms of even booking this event, how you were able to set that all up?
I mean, that's actually a really good point. We also in many hotels, when we're, if you just didn't do a reservation, you just went to a random hotel, they're gonna ask you for your passport or for your ID card. So they wanna know, they actually required to know this by law. And I mean, of course, they would say because they want to stop any criminal activities. That's not a really big reason. I would say it's an excuse why they want to require you to put your data there to stop criminal activities. The reason is they want to get access to your data. And Airbnb is a good case because you have to submit your passport there. You have to go through this process. Uber, same. Unfortunately, I don't have a solution here how we can fight it. You can try to use our normal cabs, pay them with cash, but we'll move towards Uber. In some places, it's even impossible to just get a random cab in the street. You have to order Uber, otherwise you will not be like at the place you want to be on time. And with Airbnb, of course, it's so much convenience. And that's actually also another part. When you feel that it's so convenient, it's probably when you're abandoning so much of your data. So try to switch to cash payments. With Airbnb, what I was doing before was, for example, booking a room for 2 nights. Then I would come in a place and we'll negotiate a longer stay with cash. So it's outside of Airbnb and they don't know how long I'm staying at that place. Or you can ask people around in this place if they know other hosts who have a room. That's another way if you completely want to hide your data. That is important. And of course there are Facebook groups where you can find a room and you will be like, yeah, paying cash. But you will trade your data to Facebook. Yeah.
How are you going from crypto to cash?
Depends. It depends on the country. I was talking before about OTC. So in US it's a bit harder, but I recommend going to local bitcoins. That's where you can find the local trades, and there are trades that are done crypto to cash or cash to crypto. So that's where you can cash out your transactions. If you don't want to use, of course, their centralized exchanges. That would be a way that the majority of people in the country would use to cash out their crypto, but that's when their identity comes in place. If you want to do it anonymously, yes, local bitcoins is a good place to go. You can find different trades. Binance also has their P2P market, but I know that Binance is not available to people in the United States. There is Binance US, that is it's not Binance, it's like something else that they're trying to build with the same brand. But yeah, OTC is probably the only option. And you can also ask in the local groups with crypto people. There probably will be people that are willing to buy crypto from you, give you cash, or opposite. Yeah. Any more questions?
Do you use Microsoft Office to store all your business documents? Or no?
Google, unfortunately, but we're planning to move to IPFS, use it as a storage, but it also doesn't give you privacy. So it depends what you want to do. If you have actual information that you don't want to disclose to anyone else, you want to store it on a separate. So for example, I have a separate laptop that I'm not connecting to network anymore, and that's where I can store important documents that I don't want to be exposed to any network or to any other third party. So unfortunately, with cloud service, that's a problem. They're all under some corporation, and if we're talking about master nodes as well, Ethereum master nodes, 60% of them are being hosted on cloud servers, whereas the largest player in the market is AWS. So AWS hosts majority of Ethereum master nodes and all other master nodes. So how decentralized we are, we're not. The ways to protect our data: if you have important documents, store them on a device that is not connected to network, or you have to store them on the paper. Go old school. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And enjoy the